Hello and welcome to Portfolio Matters. In today's brief podcast, I will be discussing whether oil companies' pre-drill estimates for the chance of success for exploration wells is accurate. And I won't be discussing any companies, so I won't do the full disclaimer. Full disclaimer can be found at the end. In the meantime, do your own research as always. Now, regular viewers will know that we recently covered and I invested in the company Advanced Energy, which was drilling a well, an exploration well, into an old oil field offshore Timor-Leste. And the risk consultancy who produced the Competent Persons Report estimated pre-drill that the Buffalo 10 well had a 95% chance of finding commercial quantities of oil. Now, sadly, it didn't. And that led to an enormous fall in the share price, which was above 5p before the results of the well were known and is currently trading at 0.25p. So that is a 95% fall and very painful. Subsequent to the failure of the Advanced Energy Buffalo 10 well, we had a discussion on the Discord channel, and at this point I particularly want to thank Simon W for putting me onto this and for his contribution, that essentially oil company estimates, pre-drill estimates, tend to be way too optimistic. And if you look at the actual results of exploration oil wells, then you find that the results are much worse than anticipated. And I have been and looked at a few studies and we'll show you the results. So this first one is an analysis of 195 Norwegian wildcat oil wells drilled between 1990 and 1997. Okay, so the vertical bars are the pre-drill estimates of how much oil they're expected to find. So the bottom is P10, the top is P90. So that there's a 90% chance that the amount of oil will be found above the bottom bar. There is a 10% chance that it will be above the top bar. And the dot is what actually occurred. And you will see there are an awful lot of dots well below the original estimate of how much oil they expected to find. The summary of the findings was that companies overestimated both oil and gas resources pre-drilling by a factor of 2.5, i.e. they only found about 40% of the oil and gas that they had expected to. And therefore, in order to get an accurate estimate of pre-drill success, you would have to multiply the stated pre-drill estimate of success by 40%, by 0.4, i.e. reduce the pre-drill estimate by 60%. Now, if we look at a further study from Norway, this is just oil wells for the period 2007 to 2016, so quite recent. The green bars here are the P10 to P90 estimates. So the pre-drill estimate was that there would be a 90% chance that the amount of oil discovered would be above the bottom of the bar, and there was a 10% chance it'd be above at the top of the bar. And the red triangles are the actual outcomes. And you'll see once again, there are far more red triangles below the bars than there are above the bars. And the summary was 58% of results fell within the range, but only 6% were above it, and 36% were below it. And on average, companies overestimated the size of resource by 1.4 times, i.e., in order to get to an accurate pre-drill estimate of success, you would have had to multiply the stated number by 0.7, i.e. reduce it by 30%. We now look at gas fields over the same period and from the same study, you'll see that results were only 47% of results fell within the P10 to P90 range. Bear in mind, 80% of results should fall within that range. 16% were above, 37% below, and companies overestimated the size of the resource by an average of 2.1. So, in order to get to accurate pre-drill estimates of success, you'd had to multiply the stated number by 0.47, i.e. reduce it by 53%. And this is from a BP study, which is a bit older, from 1999, and looks at deep water targets where they have had particular trouble estimating the chance of success. And the red line is how much oil they predicted they would find from their 125 wells drilled. The green line is what they actually found. And they estimated that their predictive accuracy was 45%. So you'd had to reduce their pre-drill estimates by 55% to get to the true number. So, in summary, if we look at these various studies, all of them showed that pre-drill resource estimates were way too high. And in order to get to accurate numbers, you would have had to reduce the pre-drill estimate of the resource size by between 60 and 30%. So, I think as a rule of thumb, it would be wise going forward to take the stated pre-drill estimate of success and halve it. So in the case of Advanced Energy, a lot of investors, including myself, over-allocated Advanced Energy in their portfolios because they and I believed the pre-drill estimate that there was a 95% chance of success. If I'd halved it and assumed a pre-drill estimate of success of less than 50%, I would have put a lot less money in. So, something to be aware of going forward. Don't take the pre-drill estimate of success as gospel. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. Please can you press like and subscribe to the channel. And in the meantime, it's goodbye from me, Keith Jordan. Goodbye.
Full disclaimer. The material and information contained in this podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be relied upon for making a business, legal or any other decision. We may own or have a financial interest in any securities mentioned. Listeners should conduct their own research or consult a professional investment advisor before making any decisions regarding topics mentioned on the show. Whilst we endeavour to ensure that the information presented on the show is correct, we make no representations or warranties of any kind, express or implied, with respect to the podcast and website or to any information, products, services or related graphics discussed or presented in the podcast or website. Any reliance you place on such material is strictly at your own risk. You are solely responsible for the investment decisions you make. We will not be responsible for any errors or omissions in the podcast or website, including in articles or postings, for hyperlinks embedded in messages, or for any results obtained from the use of such information. Nor will we be liable for any loss or damage, including consequential damages, if any, caused by a reader's reliance on any information provided by the podcast or website. Please do not listen to the podcast if you do not accept self-responsibility for your actions.